Chapter 5 21 but 22. I'm greeted on the front steps of MIMS on Monday morning by our principal, Ms. Tiller. She's a tall, thin woman who I truly believe has a bit of chameleon in her. Most mornings, she greets students as if we are long-lost friends. She smiles, pats us on the back, says things like, "Welcome back," even though she just saw us the day before. Other times, Ms. Tiller looks like she's about to take someone's head off. For example, the time when Jake Stone set off firecrackers in the boys' locker room? Everyone in the gym, including myself, gave her a wide berth as she frog-marched Jake to her office. Today, it seems she could go either way. She motions me with her index finger. I breathe deeply and follow her to her office. Ms. Tiller's lecture ends some years later. Not really, it just seems that way. I eventually emerge with the understanding that the next time I just leave school grounds without permission will result in my suspension. I'm given a note stating as much that I need to get my parents to sign and return to her tomorrow. I'm thankful because I know I've gotten off lightly. I walk into science class that afternoon with a heavy sense of déjà vu, feeling the exact same way I did on my first day here at MIMS. But this time, when I see the smug look on Chloe's face, I grin at her, letting her know just how little I care about the mess she started the other night. I even nod in her direction as I walk past her group to where Jack sits, waiting for me. Jack's unusually fidgety, bouncing his left leg as Ms. Phillips goes through today's agenda. "Did you stop at the beanery on the way to school?" I whisper. "What? No. Why?" says Jack in clipped answers. I glance at his bobbing foot and respond, "No reason." As soon as Ms. Phillips turns us loose, Jack snags his laptop from his book bag and sets it directly in front of me. "Look what I found out about 21 but 22, he says. Jack turns the laptop toward me, showing me the About Us section of the 21 but 22 website. He reads the brief paragraph posted on the page. 21 but 22 is an organization founded by anonymous physicists who support the idea that time travel is not only possible, but ongoing. We also support the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. We welcome lively and academic debate on these and other issues in our steadfast belief that at one point in time, in one world, we shall all ultimately agree." Parallel worlds. There's a numbered list of biographies about the founding members of 21 but 22 that provide each physicist's accomplishments. While the information is detailed, every identifier has been removed. No names, no locations, not even links to other websites appear on the page. It is unlike any other website or social media page I've ever seen, being completely devoid of photos of any kind. I read one of the biographies, impressed by this person's life's work in physics. I think it might be easy to figure out the identity of this physicist. I copy their bio, paste it into another browser, and click go. There are thousands of hits, but not one that is an exact match to the words I'd pasted. They really mean to keep their identities a secret, I say. "Click that link," says Jack. He points to a line at the bottom of the page that says, "Join us." I click the link and another window opens with one line of text. "Thank you for your interest. We'll be in touch." What does that mean? I ask. I think it means they have an analytics tool that lets them know who visits their page. I guess they trace who's visited by using some kind of tracking code that's embedded into their site. That must be how they can figure out who you are and how to contact you. I didn't ask how it worked, I say. Sorry. For a moment I forgot who I was talking to, said Jack. I laugh at his comment, then think aloud. So, did we just apply to join 21 but 22? I guess we'll find out, says Jack. But I doubt they'll take us. Everything I read on their site is about adults. Kids don't seem to be a part of this group. That makes it even cooler that they're on Neutrino's page. I mean, the fact that high-level nerds are impressed enough by our stuff to comment on our post kinda blows your mind. Uh-huh, I say, still reading the bios on the 21 but 22 website. I think Jack's resigned himself to the fact that I've hijacked his laptop, because he grabs one of Ms. Phillips's laptops. He brings up Neutrino's page and posts the question, "Many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. Probable or possible?" The grin that spreads across Jack's face tells me that someone's already commented. I log in to my account and go to Neutrino's page. The first comment is from 21 but 22. Possible equals not an option. Probable equals yes, and that the probability is 100%. Yeah, that's pretty cool, I say, liking 21 but 22's reply, just as they post another comment. Are you with us? Jack looks at me, eyebrows raised. Are we? He asks. I nod. Go ahead. Jack responds, all day, every day. And we wait. And we wait some more. 10 minutes later, we give up and set all distractions aside. It's already 2 o'clock, and we haven't even started working on our vocabulary study guide, which is due tomorrow. I grab my science book and flip through the pages, looking for examples of metalloids and non-metalloids. I don't know why you're looking there, says Jack. That book's so old. As long as it was printed after 1869, we're good. Besides, you know Ms. Phillips always gets her examples from our science textbook. Remember when she said, "No internet at home is no excuse"? I ask. If we use the book, we'll be sure to get the answers right. Go back to that section about rivers. Jack reaches for my book, turns a few pages back, and pulls out a small brown envelope sandwiched between a 2-page spread on some environmental disaster. What's this? He asks. Don't know. I've never seen it before. I take the envelope from Jack and run my finger over the raised letters on the half circle. I wipe away the gray-black smudge that's left on my fingertips from the printed words. Jack leans in and we read the words, whispering them together. Fill your mind with days in time. All of what happens next does so in what seems like just seconds. It's weird because everything I see seems to be moving in slow motion, but at the same time, everything is happening so fast, I don't have time to react, much less understand what's going on. The walls of the classroom separate and travel outward. All of our classmates drift away from us as if their chairs and tables are on wheels. Ms. Phillips is writing something on the blackboard, and I stare, mouth hanging open, as I watch her zoom further away. Her printed words shrink smaller and smaller until they are a dot. Ms. Phillips continues to move away until she is a dot, and then she's gone. The ceiling soars into the sky and spins away like a lopsided frisbee getting lost in the clouds. Jack and I reach for and take hold of each other's hands just as our lab table rises up, chasing after the ceiling like a dog after a stick. I watch in amazement as our chairs slide from underneath us and spin away like out-of-control bumper cars, though somehow I catch myself before I end up on the ground. The hardwoods rumble, creaking loudly as if in pain. I see a faint light glowing between each board as they groan. Then the entire classroom floor speeds away like a rug that's been pulled out from underneath us. Jack and I are still clutching each other's hands, me gripping his upper arm with my free hand, when we find ourselves standing on a grassy slope beside a large body of water. Oh my gosh, I stammer. What happened? What did you do? Asks Jack, backing away from me. Me? I haven't done anything, I say defensively. You're the one who pulled the envelope out of the book. Jack's eyes dart madly around from the water to a nearby stand of trees. The panic on his face makes me think he's about to bolt. The thought of being here alone causes my own panic level to rise. I step closer to Jack, wanting to grab a hold of him so he doesn't just vanish, but he steps away from me. My mouth feels dry, and all of a sudden, I'm so dizzy. I want to move closer to Jack, but it seems as if my feet are cemented to the ground. A feeling of abandonment sweeps over me and my eyes fill with tears. So many things are flashing through my mind, but I can't seem to focus on any one thing for more than a second. Too many things are wrong with our situation. I feel myself start to hyperventilate, and the ground below me seems to rise. Jack turns to me, then purposely closes the distance between us, grabbing both of my arms to face him. "Grace, are you okay?" he asks. "Define okay," I say. Jack chuckles nervously. He pulls me into his arms and I rest my head on his chest. We stand like this in silence for several minutes. "Better?" asks Jack. I nod and he releases me. He paces a few feet away, scratching the back of his neck. "Where are we, Grace?" I know he doesn't expect an answer, and that's good because all I can fixate on at this moment is the crazy feeling that Jack's going to be sucked out of this meadow without me. I feel the need to hold on to him, to keep him here. I reach out my hand, and this time he takes it. This small comfort gives me a few minutes to restart my heart and breath, and restart my brain and think. I realize I'm still clutching the envelope in my other hand. I turn it over, looking for any clue about what happened. I read the words silently. "Fill your mind with days in time." "Any ideas on what it means?" Jack asks, moving closer to get a better look at the envelope. Before I can answer him, new words appear on the flap, as if written by invisible, ghostly hands. The words form the bottom half of the circle. "You must gather your facts before you travel back." As if things weren't creepy enough. "Did you see that?" I ask. My hand shakes as I hold the envelope toward Jack. "I did, but what does it mean? Before we travel back?" he asks. There's something missing in this meadow that seems so obvious that at first I have a hard time placing it. The ocean. I guess I'd finally gotten used to the constant roar of the sea that its absence is glaringly obvious to me. "I can't hear the ocean," I say. "That means that wherever we are, we're not on Miller's Island." "So travel back might mean to go back home," says Jack. He stares at me, his expression a mix of fear and excitement. "You know what's happened?" he asks, not waiting for me to answer. "We've somehow traveled through time and space." I hear what Jack's saying, but I can't believe it. Sure, I've fantasized about this many times, played out the entire scene, but this isn't how I thought it would be or feel. "I don't know," I say, but watching the classroom fly apart and seeing everyone in it disappear like that, I think time travel has to be the most logical explanation. "Most logical?" asks Jack. "Either that or a bunch of mini black holes collided and you and I got sucked through?" I ask, my voice shaky. Jack lets out a sigh. "Or maybe we're both having the same hallucination." "I doubt," I say. "It seems too real to be anything else." I look around the meadow and then glance out over the water, which gently laps onto a mud-lined shore. I'm certain I've never been here before, and there are no clues to determine where we are. This is too much for me to take in. I decide I'd better sit down before I fall down. I sit on the soft grass, pulling Jack down with me. He lands with a thud beside me and raises our still joined hands. "Not that I mind, but could you release your death grip just enough so I can get the feeling back in my fingers?" Since I don't understand where we are or how we got here, I don't feel safe enough to let go of Jack. He loosens my grip, prying his hand away and flexes his fingers a few times before slipping his arm around my shoulders. He takes my hand again with his free hand. "Don't worry, Grace. I'm not going anywhere without you," says Jack. This simple statement fills me with reassurance. For a split second, I feel flattered by Jack's promise. And then, because he's Jack, he goes and says one of those things that brings me back down to earth. "I mean, I'm pretty sure that's a given since we both came here. I think we're meant to be here together." I agree with Jack in that if we were not supposed to be together, Only one of us would have been pulled here. The other one would have spun off with the rest of our classmates to wherever or whenever they are. We sit silently for a few minutes, and soon I feel my heartbeat return to normal, if only for a second. I nearly scream when I feel a bulge form inside the envelope. Curiosity wins out over fear, and I release Jack's hand long enough to open the envelope and peek inside. 2 gold chains are curled up like twin snakes at the bottom. I tip the envelope and the chains slide out into the palm of my hand. They're identical necklaces, each with a small, clear vial. I pass one to Jack. They're empty, I say. Maybe we're supposed to fill them up with something? Gather your facts? These won't hold many facts, says Jack. He slips one of the necklaces over his head while I do the same. The envelope hisses, and I instinctively drop it into the deep grass. The flap closes, seals, and new words form, cutting a diameter through the circle. You may return when your lesson has been learned. Jack and I roll onto our hands and knees, trying to get a closer look. I'm wondering if more clues will appear when the envelope spontaneously combusts, leaving behind a small ash rectangle in its place. A gust of wind picks up the ash and scatters it over the water. Jack sits back down and stares off in the direction the ash traveled. Now what? I ask, sitting beside him. Jack pulls out his cell. Do you have any service? We both check our cells, and I shake my head. Me either, says Jack. I think we should power these off. We can check again later, but we need to save the batteries. My parents don't expect to see me until dinner, and I'm stuck out here with the only other human I'd ever call, so there really is no need for my cell to be on. I click it off and slip it in my back pocket. Jack and I sit together for I don't know how long, watching the lazy water. There's a lot we don't know, says Jack. But for now, let's focus on what we do know. For one, it's still daytime. I laugh. Yes, it is. Come on, says Jack. Try. Maybe we can figure it out. Okay. It was daytime when we left, and it's still daytime now, I say. I think quietly for a few moments, and something else comes to mind. I don't hear the ocean, but I smell salty air, so we must be near the ocean, or at least near an estuary. Good, says Jack, still watching the water. He sits up straighter. And that's a river. Right, I say. The water's moving along the bank. It's not still. I feel a glimmer of hope, which passes quickly. But which river? There are tons of rivers on Earth. I think we can eliminate most of them, says Jack, pointing to the tree line. See that brown sign? It means we're in a federal or state park. So we're still in the U.S., I say, feeling slightly relieved. Jack stands and pulls me to my feet. We jog over to the sign and read, Neuse River. Jack lets out a whoop. We're still in North Carolina, he says, giving me a high five. There's a trail map on the sign as well. Jack's finger follows the trail away from the Neuse River to the closest city. New Bern, says Jack. Never heard of it, I say. Jack grins at me. It's about 20 minutes away from Miller's Island. I'm guessing you mean 20 minutes by car, I say. Yes, says Jack. Just a short car ride, and one that I'm sure my cousin Sam won't mind giving us. Cousin? I ask, allowing my hope to soar. Yep, says Jack. He lives in New Bern. If he's home, we might be able to make it back to Miller's Island before supper. Jack takes my hand and we walk to the trail. I wonder how long it will take for us to get out of the park. I hope we'll be through before it gets dark. I didn't have time to grab my sweater off the back of my chair before it disappeared. A slight breeze makes me worry that the night might bring cooler temperatures. I glance at Jack's profile, amazed by how he's going on like this is a normal event for us, when everything is just so opposite of normal. I stop walking and Jack turns to look at me. So I guess we're just going with it, I say. Going with what? My cousin? He's cool. No, with this whole thing. I mean, how did all of this happen? Our classroom literally fell apart and we have no idea why. What if it happens again? Jack pulls me close. It's scary, I know, but we can't focus on that right now. If we do, we'll never figure it out. The first thing we need to do is get back home. So, stay with me. We can freak out later, okay? I take a deep breath and nod, deciding to put the hundreds of questions out of my mind for now and focus on getting out of the woods before the sun sets. Jack and I walk at a pretty good pace, and we emerge from the trail 10 minutes later. We're standing in a parking lot that's half full with cars, but no one is around. Jack takes out his cell and powers it on. Still no service, he says, looking around the parking lot. He points to the other side of the lot. There's a payphone. Come on. We walk to the phone, and Jack drops a coin into the silver slot at the top. I'm surprised he knows how to use one of these. He looks up his cousin's phone number in his contact list on his cell and dials. I can hear the robotic voice play on loop. The number you have dialed is not in service. What? Asks Jack. He hangs up the phone, and a coin falls into the change drop. Jack scoops it up and redials his cousin, getting the same response. Let me try my parents, I say. I retrieve the coin and dial home. My stomach drops when I get the same recording. Try Emma. Jack doesn't move, and I follow his gaze. He's staring at the cars in the parking lot. Notice anything that's off? He asks. You're going to have to be way more specific, I say. These cars are all new, says Jack. I glance at the cars. Yeah? How is that possible when they're all 30 years old? All of these cars were made in the 80s. Maybe there's some kind of car show nearby? I say. Maybe, says Jack. He takes my place at the payphone and tries to call Emma. Got the recording again. Maybe something's wrong with this phone, he says. Now what? I ask. I guess we keep walking, says Jack. He climbs onto the bench beside the payphone, then stands on tiptoe. New Bern's just over that hill. My cousin lives downtown. We'll be there in 5 minutes. Jack hops down and puts his hand out. I take his hand and we walk along the edge of the road. He's right. We step onto a sidewalk not 5 minutes later that leads us into the heart of New Bern. I think that's it, says Jack, pointing to a white one-story house with a gray wooden porch. You think? I ask. Aren't you sure? Well, it looks like his house, but the last time I came here, the porch was a reddish color. Jack shrugs. Maybe they painted over it. We climb the steps and Jack rings the doorbell. I don't see my cousin's car in the driveway. I hope he's home. A young man opens the door. Can I help you? He asks. It seems that Jack has suddenly lost the ability to speak because he doesn't answer. Just stares at the man like he doesn't understand the question. I'm beginning to think we're at the wrong house. The young man stands there staring at us, probably wondering what we're doing on his front porch. Hi, I say. I'm Grace. We're looking for Sam. The man looks at me with a puzzled expression. Sorry, no one named Sam lives here. I look to Jack for help, and I'm alarmed to see how pale he is. Thanks, I say to the man, pulling Jack away from the door. We must have the wrong address. Sorry about that. It's no problem, says the man. He closes the door just as I've gotten Jack down the porch steps. I drag him back toward town and force him to sit on a bus bench. What's going on? I ask. Was that your cousin's house? Yes, says Jack. Well, was that your cousin? No. I sigh loudly. Do you know that man? Jack nods. And? I ask impatiently. He's my uncle, says Jack in a voice so low I barely hear him. Then why didn't you speak to him? Because my uncle died last year.